Michelle, put the tape there. At least on that one. We'll start in a minute. Celebration of creativity. Thanks for tuning in. Are we live? Can someone check that for us? If you're at home, call us to let us know if you're okay. Hi everyone, we're gonna start a celebration of creativity in a minute. So do send this link to your friends, invite people to join us. We're gonna have some creatives speaking about fashion.
Thank you so much, Alan. This is Alan. We're going to be having more of his music this evening. He's going to do a lovely set for us. Amazing guy, amazingly talented, and he's going to be sharing that with us this evening. So welcome, guys. This is a month of celebrating creativity and celebrating the creator as well. You guys at home can't see it, but it looks like a celebration in here behind the camera. Yes, indeed. There is balloons everywhere. There are joyous faces everywhere. And we're going to be having a good time of just gathering together and looking at the many, many forms of creativity. Today we're going to be focusing on fashion. And we've got two speakers with us. That is Liz and we've got Bim. So they're going to be sharing their own experiences and it's going to be a great time. So fashion and music. But before that, you guys at home, you'll be able to participate, but you're not going to be able to draw on the board. I don't know if you can see the board in the corner. So what I'm going to do is chair, or in front of your chair, if you see a white note on there, then look at it and come up for us. Steve, you got one? Okay. So you've got, it's Pictionary, so you've got to draw it and we've got to try and guess it. So you guys at home as well, do join in and see what it is. Let's see if we can do it. We're ready. Let's go. We got a camera. A camera. It's just a camera, okay? A camera, all right. I gave you the answer there. Easy. Girls, you made it super easy. No offense, Pastor Steve. Come on, guys. So, come on, step up, Kev. Let me wipe this for you quickly. All right, let's see. Guys at home as well, can you check online if they're trying to guess as well? Go on, Kev. Go for us.
You're indescribable in every way. You search me out, now I'm caught up in your grace. I heard my name across the ocean. You pull me closer. The
Oh,
current
cutting his ear off.
changed.
Hey, Van Gogh. Did anybody get it at home, guys?
Horizon,
Nice one, guys.
a
Vincent
silver
Van Gogh.
lining,
Okay,
a
let's
brand
see.
new day.
If you look by your
And
chair,
I might go.
there may be a white slip at the front of
I
it.
can't find the words to
Is there one there?
say, and you're higher than
On the other side?
all that you
Oh, thank you. There you go.
see. And pour
All right.
over me,
Have you got one, Temmie?
I got
All right, Temmie, can you come up for us? I'm just going to clean the thing for you.
you search me out, and now I'm caught up in your grace. I just can't fathom it. I can't make sense of how your love's so undeserving, never ends.
All right, let's see what it is, guys. We do want you to join in back home. Are they joining in back home?
Of heaven is life with you.
Online, are they guessing?
There's no fighting this gracious rhythm.
Okay, let's see what we've got.
Hands high in praise to you.
So, microphone. That was the answer. Okay, excellent, excellent. All righty. Yeah, thank you. All right, is that the last note? We've got one here. Oh. Come on, I wish you guys showed me before.
You search me out, and now I'm caught up in your grace. I just can't fathom it. I can't make sense of how your love's so undeserving, never ends. You're indescribable.
All right, paintbrush, thank you, thank you. You'll get a larger slice of cake this evening. Yes, we're going to be having chocolate cake and ice cream today because, again, it is a celebration of creativity. So I'm just going to move this quickly. Oh, thank you very much, Steve. And we are going to get into the conversation. So just very quickly, we are going to have Liz come up and share with us. Woo, 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 woo! Come on, guys. Liz, do come up. Woo! Come on. Let me clean the mic for you.
You're indescribable in every way.
There we go. Thank you so much. So just wherever you feel comfortable, you can use this to put your Bible on. if you
Okay,
want.
cool. Hi, church. I hope that you guys can hear me. Oh, you can, because I can hear myself. I'm really new to church. My best friend is Hermine, and she be singing on the stage sometimes, and that's how I found myself here. And I'm not leaving soon, so you gotta go and see me for a little bit. But I was having a chat with Rochelle, and I was having a chat with Rochelle like 2 weeks ago, and we were just having a good chat and then trying to get to know each other, and she asked me about what I did, and she was like, "Hey Liz, do you want to be a part of this?" I was like, "Okay, cool, I will do so." And I'm going to talk a little bit about my creative journey, but I want to start my creative journey with where it all starts, with a little bit of the Bible, and I was thinking about my creative journey is really interesting because I'm not traditionally creative, so I don't paint, although I have the skills, I'm a person who went to study international criminal law. I'm pivoting my career into material futures, and so like material design, and so I'll show you guys a little bit about some of the people who inspire me. And the reason why the push has been so strong is because it was a God call. So I can only talk from that perspective, and so I hope that this little message encourages you guys. If I were to give it a little title, I'm gonna call it, I'm not building if God's not building. And so we can start in Psalms 127. It's been really loud for me this couple weeks. you guys are just getting what Herman gets every morning. So, the little sermon I got in my belly, you just gonna get it. But we can start. Yeah, if you guys go to Psalms 127, I'm gonna read it for you guys. It's really good. It's coming for your edges. It's really good. Yeah, it's here. It says this: unless the Lord builds a house, the builders labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the guards stand watch in vain. In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those he loves. And in I think it's the Amplified Version, it says that he gives blessings to those even in their sleep. And so that was Psalms 127, verse 1 to 2. And so you guys can read it in your own time. It's the basic kind of premise of that is God's just saying, like, if I'm not in it, you're laboring in vain. And it's just really loud. But I want to take you guys to Exodus. It's my favorite kind of book. It's a great book for creatives actually to read, because God tells Moses about creating a nation, how to create a nation. And it kind of tickles me because it's my background is in international law, so he's giving rules, and I'm like, yeah, that's rules. I like rules. But he's also telling Moses what to build in terms of artifacts and objects. From Exodus 25 to Exodus 31, he tells them what to build, even garments, and what it's supposed to feel like, what's supposed to be made of, the color. And so you see that God's in the details of even the objects, and you never think like, oh my goodness, God is telling me to be a product designer, but he was doing it. He was telling us what to make, and the details are amazing. And my favorite one is he tells them to build this lampstand, and he tells them to build it and to decorate it with almond blossoms. And they're really, really tiny blossom, like flowers, but in the Jewish faith, it means hope and restoration. And when you understand that, you're like, wow, light, lampstand, hope, restoration is really beautiful. And so, yeah, God is always designing. You have him as a big concept, like he's designing the world, and he made the world in 7 days, and you have that concept, but he's also in the objects that we make. And I'm a product designer, so it's like really great. Sorry. And so it's also, so from chapter 25 to 29, he's telling Moses about some products to build. And he tells him to also build the one that we always remember, so the Ark of the Covenant. And it's really beautiful, and I'll come back to it. In chapter 30, you see the people that he left behind when he went up on the mountain, and they're also building. They're building a golden calf. So it's intrinsic to us to create. Like, we are made to create. You want to create with God, though. You want to build with God. Because you have two things. Those who made the golden calf, that was destroyed very soon after. But those who made the Ark of the Covenant, you can still see how it was working. Even 2 Samuel 5, all the way to Kings, the book of Kings, you can see that object is still alive. And so when you think about like building and creating, you want to build with God for two things, maybe three things. When you're building with God, you're building something that's going to last, right? And when you're building with God, you're building something that's bigger than you. And you see that, of course, like with Noah's Ark, and he built like this beautiful ark. But what he did was actually preserve species. The Ark of the Covenant was this just like beautiful box, if you're kind of reading into it. Of course, it's more than the beautiful box. The presence of God, it was supposed to symbolize the presence of God everywhere. But in object form, it's just this box. It was so powerful that there's this story, I'm not referencing it well, but it was given to this, I should find it. It was left with this family and they were so blessed. So even when the Ark of the Covenant left, they also left with their family. And it's an object, but that's the concept of like what you're building. When you're building with God, you can do some stuff like that. And so that's kind of how my journey kind of starts. It starts with God really waking me up at night, and he gives me the passage, I think it's in 2 Timothy, it says, don't neglect your gifts and talents. And my friend's dad is a pastor, so I was like, hey, I can't draw, God, so, what you trying to, I can't, So looking into that, And it really kind of pushed and pivoted what I wanted to do. So when I was studying international law, the goal was to kind of, yeah, you're going into that to save people, but that's not what he wanted to build with me. He pivoted me, and now I'm in material design, because I can do exactly what he wanted me to do. And I think about this passage that I started with in Psalms 127, and it says, unless the Lord builds a house, the builders labor in vain. And I can tell you, when I was studying international law and I was crying in my bed, I was laboring in vain, you know. But God is kind, and he can kind of pivot you back. And so, yeah, so what I do, although I have a background in international law, focusing on humanitarian and criminal law, I've pivoted to material design. And so material design is, developing products from the weirdest things. Because when we think about justice, well, these are the conversations I've had with myself when I think about justice. I know that I'm experiencing this particular right because of the things I feel. The things I'm touching is the fact that I have a bed to sleep on. It's the fact that I have a plate to eat my food on, to tell you, like, hey, I'm experiencing this security issue, this food, this. And I don't know if it's going to be on the board, but I run a studio called The Honest. And what we do is solve human security issues through design, specifically for women and children in conflict zones. So we develop products and develop new materials to do that. But I want to share some people who inspire me, so you can kind of, get what I do. I hope that encouraged you guys a little bit. It's better to build with God because it lasts than to try and build by yourself and be that golden carpet. But it's not on the board, but there's some crazy things that people are making. I could just tell you while you wait. One of my favorite designers called Bass, and he is crazy. I was talking to my dad about him, and he developed a record player made of blood. He was looking at slaughterhouses, how like the raw material of blood is actually is wasted. Oh yeah, look at him, he's here. Yeah, with our blood. So what he did was able to to dry out the blood, extract the minerals, and turn it into a metal. And it looks like this. It's beautiful. And the crazy thing is, it's actually functioning. It works, the record player. And when you press it, you hear the heartbeat of an animal, which is really, really cool. But that's how you can use raw materials like blood. And then the next person, her name is Nineke. I don't want to butcher her name, but she's Dutch, and she made this carpet made of seaweed, algae, and she was able to kind of extract the glucose and turn it into yarn, and they're doing some crazy stuff with that. This one is to do with like fish leather, so being able to dry out the skin and turn it into leather. Like, people are doing some really crazy stuff. And the last one is, this is the one we were talking with Rochelle. This one is crazy. All of this is made of mycelium, and mycelium is mushrooms. And this is really cool. This is the Mars boot. And so, like, the premise of it is, like, when you're walking, you're able to kind of also, like, regenerate the soil by the fact that you sweat, and, whilst you're walking, mushrooms are growing, which is really cool. But that is material design. That's what I do. But I hope that encouraged you guys. And the next speaker, she's really cool, and she's been doing some crazy stuff. Well, thank you, Rochelle.
Thank you so much, Liz. Some amazing things there. Yes, God is doing some amazing things, inspiring people by His grace into His glory. So we have another amazing speaker, Bim. Woo! Come on up. And I'll get your presentation up for you.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. I know everyone in the building, so it's nice to see you all. And hi, everyone at home. So my name is Bim Bola. I am a member of KCBC, and I've been coming to this church my whole life. So it's nice to come and share with you what I do on a daily basis. So I've done a little PowerPoint because I like tech. So I think it's better for you to have visuals. There we go. And then I can talk through with my little handout. So my name is Bim, and I currently work as a senior assistant buyer. So I work for ASOS.com. And I've been working in fashion for over 10 years. But the interesting fact is I don't have a fashion degree. So same as you, I actually studied business and management in uni and had no intention of getting into the creative arts at all, until somebody said to me, I don't really think you're going to be a stockbroker, because that's what I was sure I was going to do. They said, I think you need to get into fashion. I think you need to be creative. And I also thought to myself, I can't draw, I can't paint. My mum can paint, but I don't have that skill set. So I was like, how am I going to work in fashion with no fashion experience? So I did a short internship at Monsoon Accessorize, and I did it in buy-in. And so buy-in is basically a balance between the business side and the creative side. So it's like a 50-50 balance. So that actually worked out perfectly for me. So from that, I started working at River Island when I was 21, and then was there for 5 years, and then I've been at ASOS currently for 4 years. One thing that I'm really passionate about at the moment is race and equality within the fashion industry. So I have joined the steering group at ASOS, so we head up race and equality. We work with HR, we work with the exec board to talk about diversity in the workplace, to talk about how we can ensure that there's fair opportunities for all. There's a lot of biases in the fashion industry. There is quite a bit of racism as well. So it's just how we can work with the organisation to make sure that everybody feels included and everybody's contributing. So yeah, that's basically the overall. But I know a lot of people are like, what's buy-in? Like, what does it mean to be a buyer? I remember for the longest time, my dad thought I was a visual merchandiser, so he thought I did the window displays. And I was like, I don't do the window displays in the shop, Dad. So he would go into a store and be like, I'm in your shop. And I'm like, no, I'm not there. So buy-in, basically, it's all about bringing the newest trends to the customer, to the consumer, working with your suppliers, working with designers, and just making sure that you can bring the newest trends daily, but also reacting to what's happening outside of the workplace, so what's happening on socials, Instagram, fashion weeks, etc. So my next slide. So I thought I'd do a little bit of trivia. So some fashion facts. So the fashion magazine Vogue was first published on the 17th of December, 1892. Lacoste crocodile was the first branded logo to appear on a garment. So that was the first ever logo to ever appear on a garment. And we should know this, but sandals are actually the earliest shoe, dating 7000 BC. And then another interesting fact, so Dr. Martin, even though they come in all these shapes and colors and stuff, the first original pair was made out of a pair of tires. So that's an interesting one. And they do vegan leather now as well, so that's also trying to help the planet. So a lot of people always ask me, next one, yeah. A lot of people always ask me how I balance my faith and working in fashion. So especially what I do at ASOS, I work on a department that's driven by fast fashion. So it's all about turning the quickest trends at the cheapest price points. So for me, a lot of people said, how do you balance that kind of demand and your faith? And as I was doing some research, I was thinking, I see a lot of brands emerging. I know like quite a few Christian brands. And I read an article that basically talked about the fact that millennials are feeling the need of belonging. So they are trying to believe in something higher. So we notice that a lot with our customers, like a lot of people are more in touch with their spiritual side and are seeking for what we know is God. So the question always comes to me is how do we balance that with the demands of an industry that turns away from God? How do I, every day as I go into the workplace, try and ensure that I'm bringing my faith and bringing the word of God? So it's encouraging to see that there are so many Christian brands, and I think people are not against shopping brands that are Christian brands, which I think is encouraging. I think we also have to understand how to, I guess in my sphere, it's hard because I work for a global corporation. I'm just one of 4,000. But I guess it's how to balance. I guess it's how to balance the conversations I found, the internal conversations I have with my team. I've got another slide which I'll show you, which talks a bit about sustainability, which you've obviously just heard, but just things that are happening in the industry and how we as Christians can do more and I guess challenge some of the things that are happening, a lot to do with like ethical trade and the treatment of workers and minimum wage, and how I use my platform to stand up and say, I don't think we should use that supplier because they have been flagged as unethical, or we shouldn't really be doing this product because we're trying to cut down on plastic use, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of how I navigate it. I think also it's conversations, like I said, that I have with my team, my colleagues, and I guess a lot of it is actions as well, and how I act in the workplace and how I bring my personal life into my work sphere. Next one. So sustainability. I think I can't really oh, hey. I have a question. Go. When you say Christian brands, so brands that are founded by Christians. So maybe, I think the slide before, sorry, Rochelle. For instance, so this hoodie here says, "Great is thy faithfulness." This says, "Jesus Christ saves lives." Say less, pray more. So that kind of branding, that kind of logo. I think for my company where I work, they have a stance where they are not willing to put any religious comments on any of the product, but there are a lot of smaller brands that are able to do that and able to use their garments to spread the word of God. So, no, it's fine. And then, just a little bit on sustainability. I think working in the fashion industry, it's such a big topic. It's what always gets brought up, like fast fashion. We see it on the news. How can we improve? And there was a really interesting quote which I found that was talking about basically saying that green products are seen to not be the norm. So things that are ethical, things that are sustainable are seen by the industry to not be the norm, but we need them to be the norm. Like, we have to be bold to say this is what products should look like, and this is how products should be sourced versus the cheaper, quicker products that we're seeing. So I guess the question that I thought to myself was, how do we balance profit, people, and the planet? So how do we look at continuing to make profit as a business, but ensuring that we are giving people the right direction, we're showing people the right things that they should be purchasing, and how do we do our part as people within the industry to save the planet? So just a couple of facts. So it takes 2,720 litres of water to make a T-shirt, which is a very real fact. So what you'll see is a lot of companies do things like they use ethical cotton, they use organic cotton. A lot of denim companies now you'll see on the label that they talk about the water consumption, because it takes a lot of water to wash a pair of jeans to just get that blue colour. So there's loads of things that are happening in the background. And I guess that what I've thought over the last 3 years is how I can shop more sustainably as well. So shopping sustainable products. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's more expensive. But I guess it's more expensive because of the quality. It's more expensive because of the profits going back to the workers. It's more expensive because of the machines that they're using to cut down water consumption and all of that stuff. There's like a brand that we used to work with that all of their dresses were made from recycled water bottles. So the plastic bottles are recycled and turned into a yarn, which is woven to polyester. So it was a recyclable polyester, which was plastic water bottles. And the price point was higher. But once we advertised that, we saw that the sales shot through the roof because people wanted to do their part. and do their part for the planet. So that's just a little bit on sustainability. And then lastly, I thought I'd give you guys a little trend forecast because that's a big part of my job as well. So it's predicting trends that are going to come up, looking at customer behavior, street style. So maybe some days at church, I'm looking at what people are wearing. So Steve especially. So I thought I'd give you guys a little trend forecast. And the trend forecast that I'm going to talk about is nostalgia, which I think is really relevant. So if we look at what we've been going through, the pandemic, people have been locked in their houses, wearing tracksuits, T-shirts, not really feeling that element of freedom. So the trend nostalgia is all about people's change in behavior, your change in how you're feeling because you're joyful, because now it's summer, you're being able to go out, you want to express that through your clothing. And the nostalgia element is thinking back to how you used to dress when you were out and how fashion was back in the day. So that's why you're seeing a lot of like 70s trends at the moment, a lot of resurgence of the 70s, a lot of bold floral prints, a lot of tie-dye. So you can see here, lovely florals, color palette here, loads of these bold colors here, a lot of this 70s trend, which is people just wanting to go back to a happier time. So you've probably noticed it in the shops. If you've been to the shops and looking at what people are wearing, that's the way of expressing joy. So a lot of designers, a lot of brands at the moment, everything is bold, everything is loud, because trying to bring the momentum of people to feel that a level of normality is coming back. So that's kind of the direction that everything is heading in. So that's all I have.
Thank you so much, Bim. So good. Amazing. So guys, we're just going to have a short Q&A quickly. So sorry, Bim, I know you've run over there, but if Liz and Bim, love, put you guys in the hot seat now. We have a few questions, but if anybody has any questions here, just raise your hand if you do, and I'll run to you with the mic. If not, I'll go with these questions that we have here to ask. Anybody? Kev?
Thank you. It's not really a question, it's just a thank you for educating me there. I always wondered what was the oldest sports brand, and now today I know, so thank you. Thank you very much. Cool.
Cheers, thank you.
A question for Liz. I remember we were talking about you're trying to use the different materials and things for like human rights and stuff like that. Just wondering how you do that, how that happens. And I guess for Bim, I guess I'm intrigued by trend spotting and how you do that. So those are my two questions.
Thanks, Pastor Steve. So one of the products that we're developing is in the studio is to encourage legal literacy for unaccompanied minors coming into European borders, and that should be finished by September. And that's using like AR in a children's book. And so that's like kind of one way that we're doing it. So it's like that. And then it's like for that particular product is actually encouraging children to know their rights. And it's really fun because it kind of gives them back that like childhood joy. Loads of children who are traveling by themselves, they lose a lot of their innocence. And we remember our favorite books. Like I remember my favorite children's books. And so the product is also just to have that become their favorite book, but also encourage them to kind of know their rights in a way. It's a beautiful story, and the application with the AR it brings the characters to life, and the characters look like them, and they teach them their rights in a child-friendly way. So that's like one way we do it. Another way we do it is also just like to raise awareness and begin conversation. And we kind of realize that the point of what we do is only to reach one person. Like we only need to change the life of one person and impact one person. And if it's through our products or the way that we communicate things that encourages another person to kind of delve into it and do much more than we could do, then that's like sufficient. And another thing that we're doing is also just like when it comes to like developing materials, exactly what you said about sustainability. We also, with that kind of topic, like for example, the issue with water, like right now there's only 2%, like 2.5% of the world's drinkable water is available. The world is drying out because it's getting hotter. And so like also like developing developing materials that kind of stop that, you know, and that's another way to kind of secure someone's human rights. Or and so we're doing a lot of stuff like that, but it's hopefully like the physical manifestation of products that prove that this person's like rights are being kept is how we kind of do things, be honest. But thank you for your question.
You know, I'm a legal student. So good. Anybody else? I would like to. Oh, you've got that too. Okay.
So trend forecasting is realistically fashion works in cycles, which we all know. Trends they come around 360, maybe every 5 years, maybe every 10 years, maybe every 2 years, but trends are constantly evolving and adapting to what's current at the moment. So for instance, the 70s trend back in the 70s was probably more muted tones, but now, since we've stepped into the millennium, people are wearing brighter colors. The 70s trend has molded, and I suppose it's developed into brighter colors, so you can do color pops in a 70s way. So that's kind of like the fashion cycle. Trend spotting, we know that trends originate from street styling. Even the designers on the catwalks, they find inspiration from something which is likely they've seen someone wearing something. I guess I always say fashion, I don't really believe in like trends, I don't really believe in style. I just think that how you dress is an extension of your character, and everybody is different. So there are many different ways to dress. There's no one particular way which is fashionable. So I guess I trend spot looking at people's unique styles and looking at the way that people bring their personality. So I might see somebody that has done something in what I deem as a cool way, and I can just visualize how to expand that in a commercial way for a consumer to buy. So mostly it comes from street styling, most of the inspiration or artwork, fashion and art work hand in hand. So it's just a constant, it's just kind of, I guess I just have to always be alert, which is one of the things that a lot of people that work in like buying and design say, that you never stop working, because I can see something on the street or see someone and take a quick pic and put it in the work chat, or go into work the next day and create a whole mood board from it. So it's like a constant thing. I wouldn't say it's one particular way to do it, but yeah.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Okay.
Hello. When you mentioned about race, and it was very clear when you walk around London that you got different cultures and stuff, and that they dress differently. But I come from Spain, and I've been in different countries, and you find a Zara, you find Mango, you find Pull&Bear, you find the same brands, and so many different cities that you can buy you can dress the same independently where you're living. So how in the fashion industry, perhaps you don't know, but I want to see how you kind of try to identify the beauty, let's say, in the different way the different cultures dress, and how you try to, find that balance between, okay, let's dress everybody the same, but let's just try to give that. But I'm gonna be honest, I'm Latino, but when I was younger, I really wanted to be black, because I thought some of the black, clothing looked very cool. So, and then I realized I'm Latino, and a yellow t-shirt doesn't look that good as it was on my friends. So what I'm saying is, how do you find that balance between trying to be in an industry that tries to dress everybody the same, but also identifying the racial differences?
That's a really good question. And I think it's something that a lot of brands try to consider. I think there's a lot of now in the industry, there's a lot of technology that we can use to understand customer shopping habits. So we are able to break it down. We call it territories. So different parts of the world, we're able to see what product is selling, like what product sells really well in Germany versus what sells really well in Morocco. We're able to see it in that way, which helps us a lot when we're developing. For instance, we know that when we sell product in the Middle East, because of the restrictions and because of the religious beliefs, things have to be a certain way. So the sleeve length has to be long, the trousers or the dresses have to be to the floor, the necks have to be higher. So we have to find a way to balance what we see as trends, but they have to be right for the Middle East. We can't just give the Middle East something that we think they're wearing in America. So that's like a really extreme way. Or we say things like, sometimes we look at Russia, for instance. Russia's a really big territory for us. We get really good sales from there. But we know that the way that they dress is very different. So it's a little bit more formal. Even their casual wear is not as casual as us in terms of like t-shirts and shorts. We know that things have to be slightly longer. Sometimes the colors are muted down a little bit, maybe not the bright yellows and bold greens and stuff like that. So I guess there's that side of it, which is more technical. And then I suppose from an ethnicity perspective, I wouldn't say we look at it in that much detail, because I think, like I said, you kind of just shop how you shop as an individual. But we do try to embrace different cultures. So we recently at ASOS did a collection that was to celebrate like Asian weddings. So we worked with a designer, an Asian designer, making sure that we were working with somebody who represents that culture, that we weren't trying to emulate something that we didn't understand. Worked with a designer that he helped develop the range which would be appropriate for a young Asian person to wear it to a wedding, not our interpretation of what it should look like. We took some of our best-selling trends and best-selling details and then just tried to make it, worked with him to make the collection suitable. So I guess there's that side of it as well, embracing and understanding, which obviously where I work, we're trying to do that, but there's a lot of, we see it in the news all the time, there's a lot of corporations that don't actually dig deeper and try and find people from those communities or those cultural backgrounds to fully understand how to design the product properly. Sometimes they use their own interpretation of what it should be rather than working with the right people to make sure that it's done correctly. So I think that's kind of like the balance, if I've answered your question. Yeah.
This is kind of a generic question, but like in regards to everything you've seen, what would you say makes a successful clothing brand?
We'll have two more questions and then...
That's a tricky one, because I guess it's what you deem as successful, number one. If I think about some of the larger scale brands, you obviously have the Zaras and all of the big corporation brands that are successful because they have found a rhythm in terms of how they produce the clothes. They've mastered customer demand, they've mastered marketing, their website. They know that there's probably nothing that's not going to sell because they've got the power behind them. And then when I think about smaller brands, like I communicate with a lot of like up and coming designers and small brands, it's all about really understanding who your customer is and also being really clear on what your brand stands for. I think in an industry that's so big, it's so easy to follow, to copy and to lose focus. I think it's really important for like smaller brands to have a clear identity because that's what's going to make you unique. So just having, knowing your customer, knowing whether you're following a sustainable, ethical route or whether you're following a trend route, whether you're inspired by music and a particular music scene or whether you're inspired by vintage. It's just being really clear on what your brand DNA is. And then I think naturally people will be able to identify your brand in a sea of other brands. I think that's what's really important.
I've got one question. Sorry, my question is for you, Bim. You was talking about faith brands getting bigger. In regards to Fear of God, why do you think that has gone so mainstream in regards to collaborations with Nike, collaborations with Adidas? What set them apart compared to other Christian brands?
That's a good one. I don't actually have an answer for that, but I can give my own opinion. I guess Jerry Lorenzo, who is the guy that is the designer of Fear of God, I think it kind of ties back with what I was saying to Holly. I think as a designer or the head of a brand, you are representing your brand. I think he's very clear on his faith. He's very clear on where he stands. He is consistent. And I think that makes him quite inspiring as a designer, and it makes the brand inspiring because you're going to spot that brand in a sea of other brands because the DNA of his brand is very clear. He knows exactly what he stands for, and he's not afraid to put his faith out there. And I think that's why, even for people that are non-Christians and they're like, oh, I'm wearing a Fear of God jumper, and I'm like, do you really know? Like, it's not just a name, because there's a message behind the brand. So I guess after a while, if you start to continue to shop the brand and it's a brand that you want to continue to buy into, you're going to need to, at one point, research what the brand stands for. And I guess that's maybe his way of bringing people to God, and that's his way of sharing his message and the message of God, because ultimately, when you buy the product, you're buying into the brand. So, yeah, I think that.
And then we have our last question. Yep.
Thank you. This is for both of you. I guess my question is, you've kind of spoken about your faith with fashion. Have you ever had a time where your faith was maybe challenged, or you had to step up or say something because it sort of contradicted or went against what you believe in? Because I guess we know that fashion is quite fast and quite consuming, and it almost in some sense is a bit more of the world. So has there ever been a time, and if so, can you share?
All right, let's go for this first.
Thank you for your question. So my practice is in both in international human rights law and material design, and so I see violations in everything. And so when I was studying and being that good kid and like going and working for NGOs, you see like how people are profiting over like someone's victimhood, right? And you're like, okay, but God, if you're really good, why do you allow that? And sometimes when you're in that space, it's really overwhelming, right? And I think what I found with my faith, where I struggled with it a lot, is that what I do is really dead end, right? And so a solution for me is product, because I know that it's like they can have a product that could help an issue that that's experiencing right now. And so a lot of it is like people are always going to suffer, and so it's like, can what I do even make an impact? And so that's a lot of what I'm struggling with. My faith builds my practice, but the question is definitely like what I'm struggling with is like, how is it really going to work, you know? And then it's like then you have the question of like, hey God, why do you continue to allow it? Because you're reading reports, and then you're like trying to turn your reports into products that solve that issue, and you're like, oh, is this going to even work? But that's a lot of what I'm experiencing in terms of faith. It's really hard to see some of the things that you see. When you're seeing kids like running around and you have like siblings and you're like, hey, they don't deserve that. And so a lot of it is that pain. But I don't get to see it from your perspective, and but that's what I see the most in terms of my faith. It's just like, hey, there's so much bad, you know.
Yeah, thanks for your question. I think for me, it's been more recent, I think, with the rise of more more of a presence of the spirituality that is happening around in the world. So like crystals and the holistic and approach and meditation, not in that sense, but some of that, which I found more difficult because like we talk about trends, it's quite easy for that to become a trend. There was a time where everything was like crystals and they wanted to put crystals on everything. And I was like, we don't need to put crystals on this t-shirt. But it's just, so I think that has been the conflict at times, trying to explain my stance on those kind of things to colleagues and people that I work with, when I guess they don't really understand what they're dabbling into. They don't really understand the origin, and for them it's just a product that is being sold to them like any other product. You can buy it the same way you can buy anything else. So what makes it so they don't necessarily understand why I would be against it. So I think for me that's been a bit of a challenge over the last couple of years with the rise of it, and even as a workplace, doing social events and bringing in palm readers and all this kind of stuff. And like, I can see it as it's just a trend and they're just doing it because they're thinking mindfulness and well-being. But I guess for those of us in the workplace that have a firm faith, that is obviously conflicting, and it does put us in a difficult position and have to say, oh, I'm not going to attend that event, or I'm not going to come to that, and have to explain my reasoning. So I think that for me is probably something that comes to the forefront of what I've had to deal with in my workplace and in the industry.
Thank you so much, guys. Come on, guys, give it up for them. So good. So insightful. Thank you. Yep. No, you can. Thank you so much. So insightful. Gosh, so much. Really good. And this isn't the end, guys. Please stay on, because we have the fabulous and fantastically talented come on for Alan, guys. There we go. So Alan is going to be sharing a couple of his songs with us this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, guys. Oh, got some echo going on. Share a few songs with you guys, if that's okay. Two songs that I've released already, and one upcoming song, yeah? It's okay. So I'm gonna start with If You Let Love Come In, which was my first single. So, yeah. Okay. I'll try and remember all the lyrics. All right. When you're feeling just lost for words, maybe try from the inside of your world. When you don't have the courage to say, please could you help me to go through my day? Hold my hand and take me to the place you promised to head to. Your heart is a flower soon to bloom. If you let love come in. I don't want to hear lies anymore. I'm so tired of this fake imperfect world. I would advise you to to do the same. Maybe you will start smiling again. Hold my hand and take me to the place you promised to head to. Your heart is a flower soon to bloom. If you let love come in, if you let love come in, if you let love come in, if you let love come in. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. I've been nervous. Okay, so that was my first single that I released called If You Let Love Come In. You can find it on Spotify, on all the major platforms. But this song now is an upcoming song, so I haven't released it yet. Exclusive. There you go. It's called Find Out. Basically, it was a reflection on my journey coming from Brazil, the dreams that God has placed upon my heart, and all the journey and all the frustrations, and when is that gonna happen? And then speaking from the perspective of being here now and living these promises. So I hope this song speaks to your heart. Look where you are now. You never thought you'd go this far, when all the circumstances seemed unfavorable. Maybe you thought the dream was nothing but a fairy tale. You gotta keep on fighting, you gotta keep on trying. Silence all the voices around you. Lift your head up and soar high. Find the secret out. You step into the unknown. Get out of your comfort zone. Call me when you're there. The only way to find out if you're wrong or not is to open up your heart. All this winding road, we can't look back, see how far we've come. No matter what, remember where you're from. The little things that keep us moving strong. We are getting closer to our destination, and we're still expecting what is coming on. Leave your fears aside. You've got nothing left to hide. All you ever wanted is right in front of you. And silence all the voices around you. Lift your head up and soar high. Find the secret out. Step into the unknown. Get out of your comfort zone. Call me when you're there. The only way to find out if you're wrong or not is to open us moving strong. Thank you. Thank you, guys. That's the last song, if that's okay. And that's the
Encore.
One more, because we're gonna have cake and ice cream, guys.
Woo!
And I look forward to that. So this song now, it's called Redeem the Time. And that's the song that I've just released a month ago. And there's a music video as well. You know, I'm walking around in King's Cross, London Bridge, in Shoreditch. You should check it out. It's pretty cool. Yes, called Redeem the Time. And thank you so much for having me, guys. I ain't spending my days no more. Redeem your time was a message for this woman hopeful, so cold heart. They used to be so blind and poor. Yeah. You say let's get out of here, but do you know the ways that we can be free? I'll walk with you through this narrow road if we don't waste our time no more. What else can we do? Why are you spending all of our time so recklessly? You're the only reason I can see love when I'm walking on the streets. Oh, yeah. Ooh. Ooh. Can you show me the way when I'm feeling misplaced? I will show you the way if you're falling from grace. What else can we do? Why are you spending all of our time so recklessly? You're the only reason I can see love when I'm walking on the streets. What else can we do? Why are you spending all of our time so recklessly? You're the only reason I can see love when I'm walking on the streets. We are all redeeming time, 'cause we are all redeeming time, 'cause we are all redeeming time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alan. I am here, guys. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, guys. Thank you to all the speakers, Liz and Bim. Thank you so much. Come on. Guys, I'm sorry, but you can do better than that. And Alan as well. Thank you so much, Alan. Thank you. Woo, woo. So we are going into recess and we're going to be having cake and ice cream. I'm sorry for you guys at home, if you was here. But yes, we are going to be. So thank you again for joining us at Breathe. And we will be here again next week, Thursday. Same thing, but a different topic, celebrating creativity. We're going to be looking at, where's my mind? acting, film. So do join us and come by as well so you can get some cake and ice cream. But again, thank you so much for joining us. Bless you at home, bless you here, guys. Bye-bye.